Hey, Toronto, welcome to a special edition of How's the Market podcast, where we're going to go through the numbers, break down everything for you,
Short and sweet view of what's been happening in the market.
jumping right into the TREB housing chart here.
Yeah, so all of these are available on the TREB website. If you'd like to see the full report, they have a breakdown. But I've highlighted two numbers there, which are sales and new listings. So really one of the tales of our market, and I know Dave, you and I talk about it all the time, is yes, it's low sales activity, but the number of new listings has fallen almost perfectly in sync with the sales, right? There's just not a lot of inventory out there to purchase. So if 2022 was all-time highs in our market in terms of price, in terms of it was an absolutely crazy month. And so obviously we're down on a year-to-year basis, but as I said, I find it so interesting that sales are down 47% and new listings are down almost 41%. So they're going hand in hand.
I feel like this is the month that all the writers for the newspapers and articles have been just, rubbing their hands, waiting for it to come. Is it going to be 50%? Is it going to be 40%, 45%?
Yeah, and you can make the argument because as we go through these numbers, you'll see that the year-over-year numbers look terrible. But then if you flip it to the month-over-month numbers, there's room for optimism. So a case can be made either way. The Bulls are going to say, we're back, let it rip. The Bears are going to say, this is the dead cat bounce. And probably the truth is somewhere in the middle of it all.
The dead bull bounce?
The dead
is that thing?
We're going to make it one. Let's check it out. So this is a look at the MLS sales. Last month, there were 4,783 sales in February. And that, as we say, is down a pretty jaw-dropping 47% year over year. But the bigger thing is the increase month over month, right? So we are up 54.3% month over month. And I know people are going to say, well, that's January. It's a slow month. That doesn't really matter. But even if we look at 2021 and 2022's numbers, which were great markets, you can see right there, 2021 had a 58% increase in terms of number of sales, and 2022 had a 61% from January to increase sales, and we had 54% this month. So we're actually following the trend. It's just the total number of sales, when you look at the 3 and the 5 year average, that's those lovely dashed red and black lines there, are below seasonal norms, but percentage wise, in terms of percentage increase, we're seeing what we would expect this time of the year. And I think you're seeing it too as well. Like stuff that's coming out that's well priced is selling.
Yeah, we're seeing multiple offers. We're seeing in the 10 to 20 offer ranges on stuff. And if it's good product, it's getting a lot of attention because with such a low inventory environment, anybody who's interested is going after it. I think we're also seeing a lot of buyers that sort of were on the sidelines are now starting to go, okay, I think it's time to come back.
How long do you wait?
Yeah. So I think people are feeling a little bit more comfortable with what's going on. They're not fully confident with what the Bank of Canada is going to do. Is it going to follow suit with the Fed, or is it going to continue its pause? But I think the drastic change is done. So they're willing to jump back in.
I don't want to make projections or predictions.
We can do that tomorrow.
Okay. You'll hold my feet to the fire later, but really, as we go through this data, I am going to emphasize on my end, this is a snapshot of what the market's doing at this moment. Yeah. And can it change? Absolutely. We're looking at where we're at.
It can change fast.
As we saw literally around this time last year. Yeah. We'll flip over next to new listings. And so once again, this is really the story of our market, right? When you look, once again, way below the 3 and 5 year average, and there were 8,367 new listings. That's down almost 41% year over year. And it's relatively flat month over month. And that is the bigger one that I see. That's the bigger factor. So in 2021, we had increase from January to February of 60% more listings. You can see that's the blue line there. It exponentially grows. Likewise, for 2022, that's the orange line there. It had a 77% increase in the number of new listings. This year, 8.8%, almost nothing. So even though we have such few sales, what's kept our market relatively stable is no one's listing, right? There's just not product. There's not inventory. We should expect to see almost an equal number of, okay, sales have gone up by X percent. Listings should follow that trend, and we're not seeing that. Sales are climbing, listings are remaining flat, which is interesting.
Not what I would have imagined.
Yeah, the talk is, okay, there's distress sales and people are going to be panic selling, and we're not seeing that right now.
They say it takes 12 to 18 months for the effects of an interest rate increase to come through. So I think a lot of people, maybe even including the Bank of Canada, is looking to see what that impact is going to be now entering that year away from the first interest rate increase.
Right. And what does the environment look like? And now people are fully looking at their budgets, their monthly costs, and saying, okay, this is what it looks like going forward. Next, we're going to look at sales to new listing ratio. This is a fancy way of saying, what's the absorption rate? Out of all the product that's on the market, how quickly is it getting absorbed? And so right now,
are we in a buyer's market, a seller's market?
Yeah, in terms of what you're looking at for, how it applies to you as a buyer or seller. There are 100 listings. How many of them are going to get purchased? And so right now, we're currently sitting at 64%, which is right around our 3 and 5 year averages. So you basically got a 64% chance of selling your home if you were to put it on the market today. That's how much of the inventory is being absorbed, so to speak.
64% chance in that first month?
Yeah, when the listing is new to that month. And so that's slightly down on a year-over-year basis, but up quite significantly. You can see we're up 24% month over month, which is it's
significant.
It's a big jump on a month over month basis when you look at what happened, for instance, compared to January, February of last year. And once again, the lovely average MLS price. This is a difficult stat to navigate, just to look at in a bubble, because you're talking the entire GTA, all property types. It's a huge number to look at, and it's not directly applicable if you got a 5-bedroom detached house versus a 1-bedroom condo. One of them might be out in Oshawa, the other one's in Toronto. Big differences. But the long and the short of it is we're just under the $1.1 million mark. Now we're down 17.9% year over year, but when it's seasonally adjusted, we're down less a percentage point. And we're actually up on a month over month basis. So we did see that increase, as Treb noticed. You'll see in the caption there, 50% of all the sales last month were condos compared to only 38% in 2022. So a much larger portion are under the $1 million price point, but we're still seeing an increase in average pricing, which is, once again, a counterintuitive number.
I think that's driven a lot by people coming back down to the core of Toronto, looking to being back at work, no more work from home type thing, or it's seasonal. So it's the move back to the core and a lot of condos in the core.
And affordability too. Because obviously your buying power has been slightly eroded. You're going to look, and I think we're going to see very strong performance in the entry level price point in our markets.
Absolutely.
So we've already talked a bit about average price. This is just a different way to visualize it. And the one thing I'd point to right there is if you look at really the last 8-9 months, really since June of last year, you can see it's been relatively flat. We've hovered in that 1 to 1.1 million price range. So despite all the rapid changes, the market has found its footing. And I would argue and point to the low listing inventory has been a real driver of that.
And then coming out of that decline, a little bit of increase from January to February.
Right. Yeah. We're seeing an uptick. And then the question becomes, does this carry over for the rest of the spring market? And now this one, a lot going on here. It looks like a yo-yo. This is just basically saying from the previous month to the next, what's the percentage change? Did the average sale price go up? Did it go down? And what I found interesting here is, since the peak of kind of February of 2022, we've only had 2 months of positive month over month change. One was in August of 2022, and the other one is February.
Anything above the
the yellow line there, the old Mendoza line, as it were. And compare that with last year. Essentially, there were 3, and when you look at previous years, we've had 6 months. So there was a lot more positive price growth. It does show, though, that no matter what year, even in strong markets, there is seasonality.
Absolutely.
Right. And sales volume. So once again, we've talked about sales volume, but just really to emphasize how low we are and how low we have been. We haven't typically seen the spikes. Really, once again, when you see the last high point, that's February of 2022. We just haven't seen a large number in sales volume. We didn't get that big bump in the fall that we normally would have expected.
To me, it feels like there's been some sort of oversteering and volatility with of buyers and sellers trying to wait to see, hey, where are we going to balance out? Where is it going to be? And okay, the sky's falling. Okay, no, it's not. And it takes a little bit of time to reach that sort of equilibrium.
The psychology is half of it too, right? Like your confidence in the market can affect your view on it, right? Absolutely. And just as we talked about, uncertainty makes for a bad environment to make big financial decisions, right?
Yeah.
And then, so this is really just to look at all the different Treb areas. So some of you might not be familiar to it. You might not know, like the Annex, for instance, is in CO2. Riverdale in the East End is in EO1. So we can go over that in another time. But the real estate jargon, all long and short of it, is this is the way the Treb, essentially, the Toronto Regional Real Estate Board, cuts up the whole city into these numbered districts. And the one thing that we wanted to point out was that 26 of the 35 areas had a month over month increase to their average price point, and 32 of 35 had an increase to their sales volume. Obviously, I'd expect the sales volume, but it is silver lining news that, hey, 26 of 35, there was a price increase. And some of them had very significant increases in volume. Like you're talking 100, 200% increase in volume, which is very significant.
It is very significant, but I mean, you also have to look at those numbers to examine it. Going from 1 sale to 2 sales is a huge increase.
Fair enough. And once again, January, typically slower month. For the first few days of the month, people are still on vacation. They're not back at work. But once again, it's how is the numbers projecting? And it is for the first time in several months, it looks like more of an upward trajectory than a flat line trajectory. Yeah. And then months of inventory. So this is basically how much is out there for you to buy, right? How much do buyers have to choose from? And January had 2.6 months of inventory. That was where we were hanging around for the past several months. That's that lovely pink line that you see there. Yeah. The gold one is the trailing line. So I won't get into the jargon data of that. If you focus at the pink line, you can see the significant drop there. And so we're down to 1.8, and that's the lowest months of inventory that we've had since April. It's been a long time since we've been...
Which puts us in a seller's market.
Which puts us back into a seller's market. And once again, it's the third straight month that we've dipped below 10,000 active listings. So there's less out there. There's fewer months of inventory. And for anyone who's wondering what is months of inventory, that's essentially if no new listings came onto the market, how many months would it take for all the sales to go through them?
And highlighting the record lows there of less than 1.
How crazy it was, right? When you look at what 2022 and 2021 brought, right? It compared to where we are, we're where we would expect to be at this kind of year when you get outside of the COVID crazy.
We see this is an accurate representation of what's going on in the market, where there is demand for homes, and with that divided market, the homes that need the work, that might be overpriced, the not as desirable ones versus the very desirable are getting all the attention, and that's creating the multiple offers and the high demand for it.
Because right or wrong, whether it's psychological or perceived or real, there's still very much a feeling that there's logistical issues, there's supply chain issues, it's difficult to get work done. So buyers are paying more attention and in some cases competing and paying a premium for finished renovated homes.
Yeah.
Whereas in September, they just wouldn't have engaged, period. Right now, they're actually engaging and they're saying, okay, I'm willing to move forward. And this is the sale price to list price. So this is basically, if I put my house up at $1 million, am I going to sell it at $1 million or is it going to go under? And this is the first month that we saw be at 100% is people are getting what they're asking.
This into sort of the strategy of how should I sell my home, list at what I want, or should I go the offer route?
When you're having your discussion with what's your pricing strategy. And so this is shown, we've been consistently in the mid 90s for the past few months where people had said, let's set a price and we'll negotiate with whoever comes to the table. Now we're starting to see, okay, we're either getting our price right away, or maybe we're listing a little bit under what we believe market value to be, and we're getting multiple offers to push us over. And this is just reinforcing that data point. So it's the number of properties that sell every month, whether they go over asking, at asking, or under asking. And we've seen a huge uptick. Once again, the very last dot is very limited data. I will stress that is March. So we're only like 6 days into this month.
Yeah.
But it might be the first time we cracked the 50% barrier of properties going over asking price. And we have seen a big uptick. We're at 36% of all properties are selling over asking now, whereas we had typically been low 20s for most of the past few months.
So a little bit more optimistic.
Little bit. There are obviously headwinds. We talked about that, right? Some people are reaching the trigger rate. That's a term you hear all the time. Trigger rate is essentially a fancy way of saying you have a variable mortgage. Your interest, essentially your payment is entirely interest. There's no more principal on it. So then the bank either forces you to refinance or to extend your amortization. And about a quarter of all mortgages in major banks, depends on the bank, but about 25% is a variable. And then of those variables, about another quarter either has extended amortization or they've hit their trigger rates.
Yeah. So if you're thinking about selling your property, what we're advising clients is that, if it's ready to go to market, it doesn't need a lot of work. And I think now is a good time to bring it out and bring it to market. We've got to navigate March break here, but certainly it looks like in the next few months is a good time to bring your home to market. And it looks like the demand's there and buyer confidence is
at the moment, right? There's definitely an appetite for it, and buyers are re-engaged. And to your point, like we don't know quite what the future will hold. It could get better, could get worse, could stay the same. But as of right now, if you've been thinking about selling and you're in a position to list your property,
give us a call. We'll come check it out.
Yes, exactly.
Anyways, Ken, thanks for jumping on, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you for tuning in. Take care.